Tuperas y tuperas today on Dupe by the River. I know it's the episode you probably guys don't want to listen to because it's the end of the season podcast as the Philadelphia Union season has ended in the Eastern Conference Finals. A lot to be happy for, definitely, but of course we're all still heartbroken over that loss. We'll talk about that. And of course we move ahead onto this offseason already. Some stuff to talk about with the Union offseason. So guys, sit back and relax. You do not want to miss this episode of Dupe by the River. And let's get it started, guys. And that is right. Welcome, everyone, to Dupe by the River, the show where we follow everything Philadelphia Union, and we are brought to you by Philly Sports Network. Before we move forward, ladies and gentlemen, into this jam-packed episode of Dupe by the River, please do us that solid. If you're live on PSN or Barcelona Philly's YouTube channel, make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe, as we produce all of the live podcasts on both of these channels. And, of course, if you would rather listen to it only, we have that option on PSN Radio. You can find all of your favorite Philly Sports Network podcasts along with Dupe by the River, and you can find that wherever you stream podcasts from Apple, Google, and Spotify. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you today, my experts in duping, and let's start off with he never lacks in the nicknames, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Justin Jolly Old Saint Dupe Freiberg. Justin, man, it's good to see you, man, on this postseason episode here. What's going on, man?
Getting prepped for the holidays, and you know what? It's unfortunate that this is our end of season pod, but honestly, it was a wild ride. It was a crazy ride, and with the off season so short, I'm ready to get right back into it.
So your view to say such a short off season, not, but I agree with you, man. And I'm sure you have a lot to talk about from this past game, as of course the three of you guys were there. We'll talk about that as well. But ladies and gentlemen, please also welcome on in my man. I'm so excited to hear what he's got to say today. Zach Labasso. Zach, what's up, baby? How you feeling?
Good, man. I'm doing good. I'm in full off season mode. I love
snacking on over there.
I got gum in my mouth.
That's right.
I love talking about transfers because what's more exciting than bringing in a $10 million forward who's going to score us 25 goals next year? Nothing's more exciting than that. Yeah, dude, there's so many out there for for cheaper than you would think, like top forwards in the world that are available for very, very little bit of money. So if the Union don't bring one of them in, it's time to riot, guys. I think it is time to riot. We
pull an Arsenal?
Sugarman's gates. We storm Sugarman's gates, and we force him to sell the team. That's it.
Boy.
Are we turning into Arsenal fan TV here? What's going on there? And of course, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, my man, Mr. Tim Lovinguth. Tim, what's up, man? How you feeling, brother?
Feeling all right. A little bit, a little better after Sunday. Needed a few days to decompress from that match just because of the way that it ended. Just felt really bad for those players that were affected, that couldn't get on the field, that played their heart outs all season, and then unfortunately, couldn't play in the conference final. But it was a hell of an effort from guys that didn't even play a minute all the season. Shout out Aurelian Nolan. Right now, dude played amazing. We're gonna talk about Eastern Conference Final and Union off season stuff, which is always a fun time. It's silly season.
Absolutely. So for Courtney, of course, Tim's wonderful wife, are today's the Dupe by the River thumbnail on YouTube. It actually features Aurelian Colen's ass. So this is for Courtney.
There you go.
Everyone really happy. Awesome stuff. But I really don't want to start off the episode so somber, but we do need to discuss beforehand, of course, the big matter of what went down on Eastern Conference Finals. Of course, at the worst inconvenient time, we got hit with the COVID. It's 2021. We all know what COVID is. There's nothing really beating it or hiding from it per se. But right 2 days before, or no, it was 3 days before we find out that there's 11 players that possibly could have that were contracted COVID. We get into game time. Of course, it did happen. We were missing 11 key players. We're talking Andre, we're talking Kai, we're talking Jakob, Jack, Ali. So it was definitely tough. But real quick, obviously we had him on the podcast before, but Kevin Kincaid from Crossing Broad, as we all know, does an amazing job over there. Not only the uni, but all Philly sports as well. But he put out, he's had 2 really good articles. Obviously, he had the one about the ticket gate, as he likes to call. Then now he's got this one about the in-depth look at the COVID situation, some things to look at real quick. And of course, we'll give our thoughts on it as well. But this is the article from Crossing Broad, and here's the 6 main points of that article that we really should be looking at here. So number 1, in addition to players, that were staffers who tested positive as well. So employees or coaching staff as well could have been tested positive as well for COVID. Number 2, one of the possible sources of player significant other. That definitely could be a possibility. Number 3, the second player was in contact with a family member who traveled in the United States from overseas. Obviously, we have guys who have family overseas, another really big possibility. But number 4, this is where, it kind of maybe we look at it at this point here, but we'll get to it in a second. Olivier Mbaizo reportedly contracted COVID, possibly the Omicron. Is it Omicron, guys? Or is it, how are we pronouncing this?
Omicron.
The Omicron variant. There we go. During the recent pair of games in Africa and brought it back to Philadelphia. That's a very interesting point that we should remember there. Number 4, the Twitter birthday party rumor wasn't an issue. There were players that were cleared for Sunday. And then number 6, he was told that no player broke the rules, and this was more of a bad luck, unfortunate type of thing. So for me, I obviously look at number 6. Look, fact of the matter is you can't control these type of things. It is COVID. But I do have to look at the Olivier Mbaizo situation simply because of the club, or I'm sorry, the nation that he was representing. There was some COVID cases there. They did play in South Africa, which is a big hotspot from my understanding with COVID as well. So it sucks. And one thing I wanted to, nip in the bud as well, that's why I wanted to keep number 4 intact and remember that, is because I heard the slander of Mbaizo, and I just wanted to say, what happened to this kid over, let's just say, the last 3 weeks, because obviously he missed the Red Bull game as well. I really feel for him. And I know he didn't play his best on Sunday. You can only imagine what was going through his freaking mind. So this is one of those moments, guys, where I want us to look at this game, at these players, as not just soccer players, but as human beings. And I really do feel for him in Mbaizo. And obviously he got the heckling on social media. We know what that is, but that's really where I wanted to, go with that one as well. But I'm gonna allow you guys to put your input as well. Tim, I mean, you've been seeing this diligently as well, man. What are your thoughts as the final thoughts here as we move forward from this COVID situation we suffered through?
Yeah, I mean, Kevin kind of came to the conclusion after talking to a bunch of his sources there. Like it's a more of a factor of bad luck than it is any one thing sticking out. I mean, and even if you look across like all of the major sports in America right now, there's players in every sport getting hit by
Sixers.
The Sixers are like, Embiid was out for how many days was that? That was a long time.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time. And just it is part of our culture now. Like this is something that can happen to anyone. Like honestly, it could happen to Portland or NYCFC right now before the final.
Dude, seriously.
Like it's scary and it sucks, but it kind of is what it is. And to kind of put to bed the postponement possibilities, I believe Tannenwald put out an article today as well that kind of stated like there was no plan to postpone this game, and even if they did, the players that are affected wouldn't even be able to play in it anyways. So it kind of put everything to bed there. Like unfortunate situation. But like I just said when we were, introing in here, like the players that were on the field for the Union still almost got the job done. And some of them barely played at all in 2021. So I'm still, in awe of the game itself that happened, because the 11 players that were on the pitch were one unified group. And I think that kind of speaks to Jim Curtin and how he got the guys ready. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of all the thoughts I have on it. It's just, it was bad luck. It is what it is. The Union still made their deepest run in the playoffs in franchise history. And now they retool for 2022 and they go for MLS Cup next year. Like that's what they're going for. The goal.
Absolutely.
Like, and it's the actual goal. Now, everyone always says it's the goal before the season starts, but like, no, you made it to the game before MLS Cup in 2021, 2022. Your goal is actually MLS Cup.
You took that next step for sure, man. I'm going to pass this one to you, Zach. You know, and I know you watch your fair share of the Euro game as well. You know, obviously, I'm sure you saw this situation here. How does this differ from what happened on Sunday, and obviously your thoughts as well from the COVID situation?
So what I understand about the Tottenham thing is not only is there a Europa League game tomorrow, or no, their Conference League, but they're just forfeiting that game. Like they lose, and I think they get eliminated because they lose that game.
Wow.
The difference is with the Premier League game and how they're asking it to be postponed is it's just a regular season game that they can flex to midweek at some point, especially now that Tottenham won't have midweek European games. And it just like the way the TV deal works with the Prem is a little different too, because of Peacock and NBCSN and like all the, and then the stations over there always carry the games. So it's not as if there's never a platform where the game can be shown now either. MLS playoffs, like you have this scheduled for weeks in advance, and it has to be played because the final has to be played the next week or whatever. And also thinking about if they postpone the Union game even a couple days, that may help or hurt Portland because of the extra rest that they'd be getting, right? Like, granted, they'd get healthier, but we saw what happened in New England in the first round. Like, lots of rest isn't always a good thing. So there was no way. I don't think they should have postponed the game. Everyone who's like saying they should have, like, it was never ever like. Now, if the Union didn't have enough players to play, do they make them forfeit? Probably not. Like, I don't think MLS would do that in a playoff game. I think that it would end up getting moved a couple days until someone could test out of the protocol or whatever. But yeah, I think that what's happening in Tottenham is a totally different situation considering the type of game that's being played or whatever.
It's really killing the Prem right now.
Yeah. No, England is, well, I mean, you saw they had like a press conference today where they're going back under lockdown, I think, or not. I don't know.
No,
I've seen a lot.
So what they're doing is with England is for basically anything over like 10,000 for outside, they're requiring either the COVID pass.
So your vaccine pass, basically.
Yeah, or a negative lateral test, I guess, which is like the PCR test, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a monitored lockdown. Nothing's locked down, but they're kind of addressing like Omicron's here. We kind of have to like, do as best as we can to kind of keep things under control.
It's definitely a crazy time that we live in. But hey, listen, we'll remember this 10 years down the line, the COVID game that killed our Eastern Conference Finals, following like our 4 or 5 or 6, 7, 8th MLS Cup. No, I'm just kidding, guys. But now, well, let's get to the game. Let's get to the actual game here. Of course, like we said, the Union had an absolute opportunity to win this game. They went up first, thanks to what we call it, Kalins. Is it Kalins?
Yeah,
Kalins. Yeah. Collins made us a nice favor with the own goal there that put the Union up 1-0.
What a ball from Gazdag, by the way. Let's just give props to the dude because that was a fantastic.
That was a perfect
if he doesn't get there, if the defender doesn't get there, I'm not going to say Kacper definitely scores it, but Kacper should score it. So
we'll get to that in a second for sure. But
just a little segue, just a little
little appetizer.
Yeah.
But so I'm sure Justin, Tim, and Zach can attest to the environment, the atmosphere after that goal. I saw it on my little iPhone. The eruption went down Subaru Park. But of course, you got to get back and stay composed and play some defense. And unfortunately, 90 seconds later, with a squirming ball in the box, Maxi Morales he's gonna bang that back in the net any day of the week. And they draw it up 1-1 and kind of took a little bit of the air away. But the Union kept fighting, and unfortunately, at the 88th minute, man, it's so unfortunate, guys. So unfortunate. Of course, Olivier Bizo turns the ball over. And then, of course, Mr. Magno gets the goal to put it past Matt Freese. And I'm just like, it's envisioning it in my mind right now, and it's just like breaking me down, man. But really, the difference, much that you could do from there. Like everyone has said on the panel so far, nothing really to be mad about as far as the performance goes. Like, I'm so proud of these guys. They really gave it their all. That the circumstances they had to deal with, obviously, it's really unorthodox. But again, it is 2021. But those guys didn't make any excuses, and they went out and played their butt off. I mean, like, look, even I felt like Cullen, he hasn't played. He hasn't played a single minute this season, or he had 1 minute.
Years.
Played
2 years.
It's absolutely wild.
He came in a CCL game to close.
That's right.
Oh,
that's right.
Yeah. A couple. All right, so 2 minutes,
like a minute.
Play.
Like I'm saying, like 90th minute substitution. He came and played in the CCL
so
game.
Really, he hasn't played in 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'm honestly, like, I can't be too mad about this. With the circumstance at hand, I'm so proud of these guys. But yeah. So what I guess, we'll start off with our takeaways here. But really to you guys, obviously really want you to get your guys, I want your guys to put your heart into this and, like, tell us exactly how you feel from after this game. And Justin, we'll start off with you, my man. How you feeling after this one, man?
It took me a while to kind of, like, as I was stuck in the traffic leaving the parking lot.
That's the worst part too, man.
Because I was trying to.
You guys got to be in Lot A. That's all I'm saying.
Well, because I was trying to meet my uncle for the Flyers game, so I was trying to rush onto 95, and it took me an hour and a half to get over to South Philly. As I kind of thought of, composed my thought, I called my dad and we're talking about the game, and the first thought I had was fuck Don Garber is all I'm gonna say. That smug asshat came to the Sons of Ben tailgate and started spouting all this shit, full well knowing, he knows he's despised by most of this league, especially Philadelphia. It's the smuggest looks. I just want to say fuck Don Garber, and Don, if you're listening, fuck you, and especially fuck you. And I'll read again, fuck you, because I just don't like you. Very high on the list of commissioners in leagues I do not like.
Is there one good commissioner, honestly?
No, well, Adam Silver's not bad.
Adam Silver is not.
He's
been turning on me a little bit lately.
He's in the upper tier of commissioners, but that's like a low tier to begin with.
It's a very low bar to clear.
Exactly, but he's at the top probably.
If I can be honest about Don Garber, the thing is, we really have to thank him for the growth that's been going on with this league. But I do feel like at some point, some things do get to your head. And I think at this point, it's been getting to his head. And I think he's also trying to be greedy as well. Like, I get it. He's trying to make an MLS a big entity. But I do think that now the greed is starting to come in a little bit.
Oh, yeah. But honestly, and I think there's not much that I can add on top of what we've already said. But what I will say, is this team played their goddamn hearts out.
Yes, sir.
Honestly, man of the match for me is Aurelian Collin, because my God, that man, you would have thought it was like, what was it? The Goon 2, Last of the Enforcers.
Yeah.
Where he's like, it's basically, it's his last game. So he's just laying it all out there. And honestly, it looked like Colin turned back the clock a little bit. He was spry. He was making tackles. He was being smart. He was being physical when he needed to, not taking silly challenges. Honestly, had some pace to him. Him and Stewart were a great combination. Stewart was definitely acting more like the Jack Elliott, distributing, making the concise passes. Colin was kind of working as the Glasnost, the more physical presence in the air, clearing a lot of balls out. Honestly, I don't think even Nate I thought had a pretty solid game. I really don't fault.
I thought he was going to get the game winner.
Oh my God!
He had a header that went over Sean Johnson, and Johnson just looked back.
Oh man,
a little early,
and he got up so high, so high.
Oh my God!
He couldn't have jumped any higher. I don't think it was physically possible.
I think he was just maybe a quarter of a second too quick with it. because
it was unbelievable.
He jumped perfectly.
Yeah,
he just probably jumped a little early because that thing skimmed the top of the crossbar. Yeah. So if he's a quarter second slower on that,
bar down, baby,
the crossbar bar down. That's in. That is in. So hats off to Nate and Bizo. Listen, for being the only starter, unfortunately, both goals come at his expense.
Yeah.
But I thought overall, other than that, he had a decent game. Like
it was unfortunately a normal Bizo game where he looked good for 88
and then
minutes.
Switched off for 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
And that's the problem. It's like just that quick switch off resulted, and it's unfortunate because everyone played well. Even for as much sweet joke about Kacper, I thought Kacper had honestly a pretty good game, and I know that's ironic coming from us, and especially the fact that he hasn't scored a goal since the last game of the season. But I think what you were expecting him to do here was it's like when we had CJ, and CJ was getting knocked around and tossed around and not drawing as many fouls as I think he should have gotten. And because, oh my God, there were times that Kacper was literally being dragged down, and Ted Uncle, who is still one of the worst refs to me in the league, was not calling it. And you're looking like literally, Chanel has a full hand in the jersey pulling, and Uncle is waving it away. And I'm just sitting there going, okay, I guess we're not calling anything there. I think Kacper, for as much extra coverage we give him, he worked his ass off. Without his pressure there, that goal is not created because you're forcing. I mean, I still think Kacper gets onto that, and I still think the ball goes in the back of the net because of the way. I mean, it was that close to hitting Kacper, and Collins just happened to get in the way. But I mean, overall, like I said, I think the team played well, and for given the circumstances, it's unfortunate. I really do think if you have at least half that roster that was out, you are beating New York City. I do not think New York City played well. I think they got very scrappy goals, and they gritted a game out, which I'll commend them on it, but I really don't think they played well. And if they play like that against Portland, they're going to get run out of there. I mean, it's going to be a slaughter.
Absolutely, man. Zach, Matt Freese had that's tough, man. Those 2 goals, man. But I think he played really well. As I mean, you guys know my love for Matty Freese.
Yeah. I thought Matt Freese like that. The first goal is super tough for him because you saw him that ball must have knuckled a lot because he went the total opposite way of the way the ball and he was this way and he ended up having to save it over here. And the thing that sucks about that goal is we have a chance to clear it. We don't clear it. It deflects. Bizo's ball watching. Maxi sneaks right behind him. Ball falls right to Maxi from 5 yards out. Maxi's not missing that. I agree with Justin. I thought Kacper had one of his better games because he actually moved around.
Yes.
He actually seemed like he was interested in playing soccer on that day. Whereas other games like the Nashville game, I don't think he cared if he was there or not. So that was a big difference. Like you guys were saying, the center backs played fantastic. I thought Finley was awesome. I thought Colin in the first 15 minutes, I was kind of scared because it looked like he was trying to run and had rust in his joints. And then slowly the rust started shaking off as the game went on and he looked more mobile. But Finley was good, commanding. He did really well, chasing balls down that were getting in behind him, whatever. Brujo played decent. Jamiro really bothered me on Sunday. He was he just dribbles the ball. He just dribbles the ball way too much. He thinks he's Neymar, and he's not fast or skillful enough to do what he does.
And he thinks he's Neymar when he's really Di Maria.
Oh my God, that's good.
Well, I know Di Maria disrespect here. Please. No. Okay, but no, he he dribbles as if he's able to sprint away from people and also beat people off the dribble, and he can't. He does that little foot fake thing every time he gets on the ball, And I'm
And he
like,
goes
and
right.
then he gets it,
That's it.
and then he gets it stolen from him. And I'm like, what's the point? Just pass the ball. I think
Does he do this for Cape
another
Verde?
he does, yeah.
He does do this a lot with Cape Verde.
Oh, does he do that? Well, I don't know. I don't watch Cape. I thought you said does he actually play?
Yeah,
for
I have
Cape Verde?
never
don't know.
seen them play, unfortunately. So
I'm really curious now.
The main issue I have with the game is that at a certain point the goalposts had moved for me, where I was like, we should win this game. Even with 11 players out, we should win this game. Probably halfway through the first half, when New York City looked horrible. Like, they looked so bad. I was like, we should win this game. And then we score, and I'm like, we really should win this game. And then 2 mistakes happen, and it comes from a guy who's played more minutes than probably everyone on the back line combined besides him. And that's the part that sucks. That's the part that sucks. I also think Jim should have subbed way earlier. I know you're saving Paxton for extra time or whatever, but why? Like, what is the extra 10 minutes going to do to his legs that is so detrimental? He's 19 years old. I'm sure he can handle an extra 10 minutes.
I agree, man.
And yeah, that's what bugged me a lot was I think you bring Paxton in, like, because you sub him and Fontana in the 89th minute. Like, why? What's the, like, I know, you're going for a last minute goal, but why not in the 80th minute instead of the 89th? Like, they could have done something very creative in those 9 minutes that we just didn't end up seeing. So that was frustrating. And like I said, the goalposts moving at a certain point in that game is what really bothers me, because the team that was out there should have won the game.
Yeah. And to that substitute point, I mean, look, you've been playing this chess match all throughout the playoffs, and it's obviously worked. But in that instance, obviously, you didn't have as much talent on the field that NYCFC did, and I felt like at that point, just you guys have nothing to lose, just gamble and put those kids out earlier. But Tim, any last thoughts on this game before we get to the dying topic that we want to discuss here?
Yeah, just to go over it again, I mean, I'm with Justin. Aurelian Collin was my man of the match. He looked like 2013 Aurelian Collin, who won MLS Cup with Sporting Kansas City and won MVP in the game. Like, he looked like that. And he looked like he knew that this could be his last professional game. And I give him major props for leading a team that, for the most part, was pretty inexperienced, especially a back line that had never played together, like, at all, pieced together like that. So awesome effort from him. I will say to Zach's point, what he just said about Paxton, I saw the one trainer run down like at the 80th minute to talk to him. Yeah. He said something, but he was saying it wasn't like a come on over like it normally is. He was saying, like, get ready, like, do some extra sprints. We're going to call you on, like, excuse me, like right when we go to extra time. And like, that's what it looked like. So that's why, like, I think the Union were bunkering, but I guess, it's just that one mistake from Paizo. It needs to be a quick clearance. Instead, he's stuck on the ball and then gives it away.
Anything. He could have passed that back to Matt Freese. He could pass the ball back to Matt Freese.
That's who, I mean, yeah, and it sucks that the goal comes from, a $10 million or whatever it is striker from New York City's bench. And that's sort of what Jim Curtin was talking about in his post-match press conference when he was talking about, hearing the celebrations from the New York City oil money locker rooms.
Yes, sir.
I mean, he was also trying to get the attention of Jay Sugarman to say, hey, why don't you give me some of those resources before I go to Cincinnati? But I don't think that's going to happen. But like, it's, of all the people to score the game-winning goal, like, the way you see it, like, you have to spend money on strikers. Like, even if they're bench players, you have to spend money. You have to spend $10 million on a kid that's unproven. But,
for a bench player, like $10 million on a bench player, like, that must be nice.
Right. Yeah, well, I think that was the transfer fee. I could be wrong, but yeah. Still, like, the Union's options off the bench were Paxton Aronson and Fontana, and you could tell that both of those guys were being saved for 120 minutes instead of 90 for whatever reason. I thought Jim actually did a really good job of managing the game and having his 11 players on the field, like, no, like, okay, you're gonna go 90, or like they took off Jack McGlynn for Bueno to be a little bit more solid.
It was a good
defense.
sub too, because Jack did look a bit tired towards the 60th minute when he got subbed out.
Yeah, it was like I think it was around 70 or 75. So like, that sub comes on, and then the whole team knows, okay, we got 15 minutes. Like, we need to defend. We're going to try to counter like we always do, but we're going to defend first. Like, just don't make a mistake. And unfortunately, then, Bizo makes the one mistake, and it is what it is, and it's all history now. But yeah, those are sort of my takeaways. I thought it was a flawless game from Jim Curtin, except for when the crap goal goes in, then you're like, oh, okay, now I have to bring on Aronson and Fontana. Like, my plan goes out the window. It's shit hit the fan time. Like, let's go, guys. And it is what it is there. But
I also want to shout out Nate Harriel for playing left back.
Yes,
because that is very difficult to do. Like, as a right-footed player, it is so tough playing left back because you can't really cut inside because they're going to show you to the outside. So you're on your weak foot. You have to be able to make passes with your weak foot. You got to be able to play long balls with your weak foot. It is an extremely difficult thing to do. And for him, he did get beat a couple times, but it wasn't in any instance where, like, we were in trouble. He always had people behind him. He always had midfielders coming back. And I didn't expect him to not get beat because like I said, he's playing on the wrong side. And I just want to give him lots of props. I just want to give him lots of props for doing that and playing as well as he did, because that is not an easy task to wrong-footedly play left back, for sure. It's a tough thing to do.
Dude, seriously, man, and I'm so excited for Harrell. Not even just Harrell. I'm actually excited for Mbaizo next season because the week he had, that ending of this season, he's going to come back extremely motivated. But Justin, I really wanted to ask, man. I know we talked about this before, but Fontana in this doghouse, like, geez, even in this game, you wait till the 88th minute to put out Fontana. Like, what is like even the why would you not put him in early? Like, we know he's had instances where he's been clutch, man.
I think the justification, and I can understand it, is the game was on a knife's edge at that point. So I think, New York City makes the triple sub pretty early on, but that really didn't generate as much impact within that time period, within the 10 minutes, as you would have. So Jim subbing them on at the 80th minute, like, if he had done that, I still don't know if that would have done anything, or as much as we think it could have done. Why he's in the doghouse, man, who knows? He went from in the doghouse to out of it to back in it. I don't know. Honestly, I think Anthony Fontana could, based on what I'm hearing, may not be coming back. I mean, I know they extended a bona fide offer, but I don't see him coming back. Like, it would suck because he was one of the early homegrowns, but I just think that he's a guy that you have all these other young guys who are playing just as well, if not better. So I think he's just in an unfortunate scenario. Like, as good as he can play, he's getting beat out by kids not too much younger than him.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We want to talk about Doghouse as well. Matt Real and Davo both didn't even make the.
Real, I still do. Like, I literally, I've been trying to figure out what on earth happened with that situation.
Yeah,
like, and how with one healthy striker do you not just put Davo on there just in case? Like, what if Kacper and Fontana both tear their ACLs? Who's going up there?
Right. And I was saying to Justin when we saw the lineup, I was like, is Davo even in the country? Like, I feel like he's not.
We didn't even have a full bench. Like, they could have just been on there.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. But let's get to the topic at hand here. So obviously today, if you're active on Twitter, I put out a tweet pretty much stating, it wasn't fun, but a little bit serious. Chris Albright, obviously he's been rumored to, obviously try to poach Jim. He took, was an assistant technical director. He took with him to Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. And so I was, making fun, why don't you take Kacper? We'll take $2 million. We'll call it a day. And I got some interesting responses, and I got told I don't like Kacper. I don't think he's good at soccer, this and that. And let's pretty much look, guys. I am so appreciative of every single thing that comes in my life, including the Philadelphia Union and this success that we've had. I'm so grateful for. I'm also really grateful for Kacper Przybylko. He's been a really good striker in Union history. Then obviously he's got the goals. I see those numbers. My point is, and we've actually talked about it on this pod before. When I'm looking at Kacper Przybylko right now, his value is at an all-time high. I'm looking to upgrade that position regardless. I'm looking to replace him I'm looking to find a starting number 9. If someone wants to give me $2 million for Kacper Przybylko, I'm doing it. That's all I was saying. Obviously, I'm not going to be mad at keeping him. That's great depth, having a guy who can score 16 goals on your bench. But for me, I'm looking to go get a DP striker who's going to have. I'm sorry for the term I'm going to say, but have those balls, those cojones to just freaking score a goal when we need that. But yeah, just kind of wanted to clear the air, but I also wanted to get your guys' thoughts as well on here. We'll start with Tim on this one, man. So Kacper Przybylko, man, it's like such a weird entity with Kacper. Like it's hard to hate him, but sometimes it's hard to love him as well, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's a streaky striker who isn't necessarily the fastest or like the sharpest at times when you need him, which is unfortunate because when he's on, he is a very good striker and he can score goals, and he's shown that in MLS. And that's why I said, like, I quote tweeted that tweet that you put out, and I said, I mean, I still have Kacper on my best like Union roster. Like he would be my bench striker. I know we did that during the pandemic last year of who's our top all-time Union players, and we put together our rosters. Kacper was my second striker. And that being said, if someone said, do you want $2 million or whatever his market value is right now, I'd say yes. He's had 3 seasons in Philly. Like he's rose up the goal scoring charts. It's not that hard to do that for the Union because they haven't had good strikers in their history. But it's time. Like if he stays and he pairs with a DP striker, totally fine with that. But if some other team in the world wants him because his value is so high, I say do the deal. And then you build, and like Ernst Tanner has been in the news saying he's going to go shopping for a striker, then, I'd be fine if Kacper has to make way for that. But if he stays on the team, I think he'll still score at least 10 goals next year. It'll just be frustrating for the whole 34 games because there'll be some times where he'll bag like a brace and then he won't score for another 3 months. And it's just like, why are you doing this? It is what it is, though. Like that's exactly what he does at times, and it's very frustrating.
It's depressing.
AK Gaming said he'll take him to Chicago.
No Collier. We don't want him. Don't do that.
Collier's not under contract anymore.
Just kidding.
And
Sorry, AK Gaming.
Another one that Union fans will like, Rudiaz.
Love it. That's going to take some influence.
I'm still not convinced that. I think it's all bluster by his agent. I don't think he's leaving Seattle.
Yeah.
At least I'd take $2 million. I'd love to see Rudiaz. That's from Travel Night. AK Gaming with another good one. We could give you Fabian Herbers. I don't know. Chicago talks pretty good.
I love me some Fabian Herbers. I loved when he played. He's a good gritty player, but he's not gonna come into this Union team anymore. So
and he's also not a striker. So
no.
Well, Zach, I've been dying to hear what you had to say about this.
So, as you guys know, I don't think Kacper Przybylko is very good at soccer. He doesn't do anything well. There is not one thing you could tell me that he does that's good. Like, he does things that are average, sure, but he doesn't do anything that's good. Like, his combo play is horrible. Like, really, really, really bad. His hold-up play is okay. He doesn't win many headers for being as big as he is. Like, he gets kind of pushed around by center backs, and his finishing is subpar. I think people who defend Kacper love the players on the team to a fault. I think they are in love with the idea of certain players because of the history and maybe big moments that they've scored in, and stuff like that. But they don't look at the game analytically to the point where like Kacper in the Nashville game was one of the worst performances from a forward I have ever seen in my life. In my life. He didn't win any headers over Walker Zimmerman. He never got on the ball. He never linked up with the attacking mid. Like, it was just so frustrating to watch that game simply because, like, how bad Kacper played. And I think having him on the team next year could have its pitfalls because of the fact that he thinks he's a starting striker. And if they play the Christmas tree, which if you get a DP striker who does it, like if you get someone like how Tati plays or like how Rui Diaz plays or someone like how Griezmann plays or how Aguero used to play, someone who can hold up the ball and get in behind and combo play, there's no reason to have two strikers. There's no reason for it when you can have two creative players like Paxton and Gazdag on the field at the same time. Because if you play with two strikers, one of those guys probably doesn't start, which sucks because you obviously want both of those guys on the pitch next year. And I think Kacper will not want to be a backup striker. Like, I think his pride is too great for that after the 3 years that he's had. And I think that he will move on. And I think he should move on because for the locker room, I don't think it would be the best thing in the world to have someone who is very unhappy with his role in that spot.
According to AK Gaming, we signed Robert Barich.
Did we?
To the
Lies.
Fed Lithia
Lies.
Union.
Lies.
It didn't happen. And that, like I said before, there are so many good options. Contracts expiring in June. Older players coming for free, like Kramaric.
Well, Kramaric is only 30 and on a free.
Yeah,
so
exactly. That's very
That
true.
doesn't smell like the union. I don't know.
it's free.
It depends on the salary, guys. It depends on
But listen, Ilsinho might be gone. That's $500,000. That's
wild.
so much money.
That's true. That is a good chunk.
And I mean, we don't know still. I mean, we have all of these players that are technically under contract, but there will probably be some transfers out. I would assume.
And you got to think
you're going to free up
if
some
Fontana.
money.
I think I saw like Fontana, Real, Ilsinho, and there was one more player involved. I think it amounts to like 1.1 million in salary. Like you could very easily sign someone of note to play for this team, like for sure, who could lead the front line and score a boatload of goals. It just depends on if you're willing to shell out the money for it.
Good points. All right, Justin. Now, Justin, I feel like you're on you have a different perspective of this conversation with Kacper.
Yeah, listen, I've been pretty back and forth on Kacper. I don't think I've been to either extreme. I'm not the, oh my God, Kacper till I die, he's the best thing ever. And I'm also not Zach. Like, I'm not the two ends of the spectrum here. I've tried to
be everyone else on Union Twitter.
Yeah, he literally says he's not good at soccer.
Listen, I could have gone into that Nashville game and played better than Kacper Przybylko. I could have done it. I could have done it. You can ask the people I play with on Sporting Serotonin. You can ask my old coaches.
He's got credentials.
No, and the thing that bothers me the most about Kacper is I don't care if you're slow. Sometimes you have to make runs in behind. I don't care if you're not getting to the ball. You have to at least make the defenders worry that that's a possibility. And he never does that. Ever. And that's what really pisses me off about Kacper. Like, you have to, like, I don't care if you're embarrassed that you're so slow. He might be one of the slowest soccer players I've ever seen. You have to at least try and get in behind sometimes. Unless you're going to be super strong and hold up the ball every time. Like, you can't have it in your perfect world where you're not good at all these things.
Justin, carry on.
Sorry, Justin.
No, so listen, I expected this. This is I guess I have to every now and then. I can't always be the one having the rant, so I have to pass the baton, the fiery baton Listen, I mean, if you look at Kacper's history here, 2 of his 4 years here, he scored over 10 goals.
Mm-hmm.
His average now is, I'd say, around the 12 to 13 mark. If you can, I think that I'm not fully sure if they have the Christmas tree formation again next year. They'll use it. I still think they might go back to the 4-4-2. I think that's what's got you here. I think that's the predominant what got you here. Now I agree. If they go back to the Christmas tree, I don't think Kacper. I think the DP striker has to be your guy. If it's a Kramaric, who, let's be honest, I would love, because literally the striker that I've been dreaming of is someone who can, like a Joseph Martinez, like a Rui Diaz, someone who can do hold up play, can do link up play, can get in behind, and can create their own shots. But if they are going to do the 4-4-2, you need someone who's going to pair off well. You need someone who can do the behind play, can link up with Kacper. And I know that's tough to do. You need someone who's going to be able to get you 10 to 15 goals. And now people have said to me, oh, well, Kacper scores that on average. I'm not saying that you wouldn't be missing. What I'm saying is, if you have 2 players that score that average, and then your third leading scorer is, say, at like 9 goals, it's not as bad as, oh, I don't know, NYCFC with Tati Castellanos at 19 and Jesus Medina at 9. You look at New England, who, despite losing in their first game, had at least 3 players with double digits. And oh yeah, Carlos Hill had double-digit assists.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If you have at least 2 players that can contribute double-digit goals, it helps your offense. And with the solid spine that you have in defense, in the midfield, I've been saying all year, those were not the issues. In fact, those have been your strengths. Your attack has always been the issue, and you need that striker. And I think the biggest thing is, I don't know when the deadline is for the expansion draft, but if the Union sign that striker, or have that striker locked up and not announced before the expansion draft deadline, and they're committed to doing the Christmas tree, I think Kacper could be left unprotected. If they're doing the 4-4-2, I think Corey could be left unprotected. And that's my delineation. I think it depends on, I think Ernst is going to have a conversation with Jim about what formation he feels comfortable with. I still think you're going to need a 4th striker, and I think it's going to be someone that you probably sign. It might be an MLS retread, a la like how Alvis Powell helped the Union with depth. Would I love, like, a Johnny will love this reference, a Juan Agadello,
I know,
to come in like as a bench option? Yeah, that'd be amazing. Or a Will Bruin, someone deep on the bench that if you need to, someone that has done it consistently in MLS, especially. I mean, I'm not saying I don't want him, but Will Bruin, please come to the Union. I would love to have him here.
AK Gaming offered us Barrich, so there you go.
God, no. I mean,
Dude,
listen.
Give me Mason Toy. I want Mason Toy.
That's too much. Zach.
I was gonna say that's a little too much, but hey, Will Bruin,
that's my man.
Will Bruin is that Connor Casey energy, man. I feel
Connor
it.
Casey, what a legend.
But I think the thing, I think there's a lot of factors for me that determine whether or not the team keeps Kacper. I think, again, the formation is key. You're not going to have a DP striker. If you're doing the Christmas tree, you're not going to have a DP striker. You just paid, even if it's a free that you're paying a million or two to as a salary, you're not going to be riding him on the bench, but you don't want to be riding Kacper on the bench. So I think in that case, I think Kacper does maybe go. Now, if, again, it's the 4-4-2, I think you keep Kacper and you have that DP striker play off of him. So I think there's a lot of factors. I think I'm not as ready as some people might be to just chuck Kacper to the Wilds. If the right offer comes along, yeah, great. I mean, he's averaged over 10 goals over his 4-year tenure here. He was the Golden Boot winner for CCL. He's done enough to where he can, and he's won a trophy here now, so he's got some value. His value is the highest it's ever been in his whole career. So if you wanted to, yeah, you could. But hey, like, who knows? And I think that's the thing is because the off season is so short. I mean, forget the MLS season is starting at the middle to end of February because
2.5 months.
80 days, guys. 80 days from today.
Because you have the World Cup in next winter, which I still don't understand. But hey, money talks. But I think you're not going to have the same issue of, even in a normal year, you're not going to have the MLS Cup final in December.
True.
I think this year people forget that the CBA negotiations push the season back a month. We talked about whether there would be a lockout. That was a legitimate conversation that we had. It was a legitimate concern because it wasn't the first time that the MLS owners had tried to pull this. So, again, these past 2 seasons have been kind of wonky. You're still in the midst of a global pandemic that,
yes, sir.
As much as we talk about, we've gotten on their side of it, we're getting clear of it. But the problem is it's still rearing its ugly head. And I think at least the first half of next season might still have the same weirdness. Yeah. It's going to take a little while to really kind of get into whatever semblance of normal we may have. So it's tough to say what the situation is, but I think Ernst has made it clear, and when Ernst puts his mind to whatever he's focusing on, that pans out. Last season, it was a 10. He got Gazdag. Gazdag has worked out. This offseason, it's going to be a striker. So I'm fairly confident that Ernst Tanner will pull out, once again, another gem.
Just to add 2 things real quick. I would love to see the 4-4-2 with Gazdag up top next to a DP, and then Paxton playing the 10. I think that'd be super awesome. And then also going back to the Ernst article that Tannenwald put out, that comment makes it sound like, to me, he already knows who the striker is. Like the way it was worded
out already, or he has the name in mind.
So the way it was worded, I think like they're already
reached out.
Yeah, like they're already negotiating.
Which would be great because he's been the one that's been saying the earlier he can get someone in, the easier it is to have them integrate. So if he gets a signing before the new year, that'd be amazing.
We get a Christmas gift from Ernst?
Yeah. God, pop up.
At least tell me that.
Yeah.
That was at least how I interpreted the quote. Was it seemed like they had at least one guy in mind already that they were like gonna start talking to.
I could see that.
So like we were talking about with Kramaric, I mean Rui Diaz, obviously we don't know what the real story is there, but Kramaric just seems like he's not re-signing. And then you got other guys like really big names, but guys who may be on their way out of Europe who are having contracts expire in June, who you could sign to a pre-contract come January. So there's a lot of options on the table for sure for transfers for the forward position.
AKA Zach wants Olivier Giroud over here. So
there are some other names too. I don't think like Giroud, honestly, like for the way we play and the lack of pace that we already have, not sure he fits unless you kind of revamp the system to have wingers.
The Christmas tree works for him.
But you really have to. Yeah, but you really have to, like get Paxton and Gazdag to start running it behind more if you're gonna have, because they don't really do that much off Kacper. Now it might just be because Kacper doesn't hold the ball very well, but I think that would be a big thing is they just have to get in behind way more than they already do. If you get a guy like Giroud, but that's just one of many options that are out there. If you want, you can check out my tweet from yesterday because there are tons of names under that thing.
I mean, Zach, Just think about it. We need to sign Olivier Giroud because we need that sexy French dad quota.
I agree. I don't know if Griezmann really
French
hits
strikers?
that look. He is French, but he doesn't have like
the
whole.
rugged, he's the rugged French dad. Like not this.
Yeah.
It's the sexy, rugged, sexy.
No,
I
totally know what you're talking about. I get it. I totally understand. I think Giroud is a gorgeous man. He is a great soccer player, and he scores outlandish goals.
Imagine Seba and Giroud just drinking a little.
Dude, just drinking wine pregame, just whining it out.
Yes,
a little Bordeaux action. All right, real quick, guys. I wanted to, obviously the guys mentioned the contract stuff that came out today, so we're going to talk about the list, players who will be kept, and all that other good stuff as well. So, starting off with options exercised. Bendik Face, Jack Elliott, Kacper Przybylko, Sergio Santos, and Cole Turner. Players out of contract were Aurelien Collin, Elsinho, and Alvis Powell. Bonafide offers sent to Anthony Fontana and Matt Real, as we relayed earlier. Options decline. Obviously, no surprise with the Estavo on loan from Corinthians. He's heading back to Bill. And, of course, now the roster as of today, December 8th, 2021. The three main goalkeepers that we had now two seasons, right? Yeah. Bendik, Blake, Matt Freese. Your defenders: Jack Elliott, Stuart Finley, Jakob Glesnes, Nathan Harrell, Olivier Bizo, Kai Wagner. Wait, so what is Sorensen? Is he not part of this?
Union 2. He's Union 2 player still.
You.
So
okay.
I would say if Matt Real says F you to this offer because he's in the doghouse and wants to go somewhere else, then Sorensen will be signed like the next day.
Yeah, I definitely see that's a wait and see.
Yeah,
right now.
Craig will probably come up too because Colin's probably leaving. I would guess.
Yeah, I would.
Which is weird that he's listed as a midfielder here.
Yeah, so I saw CDM before.
He's kind of in that him and Cole Turner are like that DM / center back weird hybrid.
Well, since McKenzie and Trusty, we haven't really had any center backs coming from the home grounds, right?
Not really. No.
Nope.
That's good. That's good points there. The midfield: Paxton, Alejandro Bedoya, yes. Jose Bueno, Brandon Craig, I mentioned there. Jack DeVries. Whoa. Oh, that's right. I forgot that was
a loan.
He's on loan. Yeah.
All right. That's right.
Bring him back.
Bring him back and let him play wing. Let him play the
wing. Him and Paxton. On the wings. Give it to me.
That's sick. That'd be sick.
And then you have Giroud up top. Hell yeah.
I think Zach could die happy with that line.
Oh my god.
He might not even see the season. He's gonna get a little heart attack.
No, first game, Paxton crosses to Giroud for a scorpion kick, bar down. My funeral's the next day.
Yeah,
my funeral's the next day.
Literally just dies. Like you see, literal soul just starts floating.
Yeah, over and it flies over Subaru Park and just up. That's how that would work.
Oh man, we have too much fun here, guys. So Leon Flock, Daniel Gazak, Jose Brujo Martinez, Jack McGlynn, Jamiro Montero. Yeah, we'll always talk about that as well. Matish Orovich. Wait, what?
Sexy season's coming back.
That's also low, baby. He's here and he's ready.
Under contract, man. So what? I didn't see this. What is the italicized? What's their name?
Those are on loan, technically. I don't know why some of them on this
list.
Leon's
not on loan.
Yeah, I don't know why some of them on this list are also italicized, but
yeah, like the only person on loan is DeVries and Matej Orovich.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a mistake by someone.
Okay, I was like, the only one I noticed, I'm like, that makes no sense. Okay.
We also have Quinn, Cole Turner, your forwards, Corey Burke, Kacper Przybylko, and Sergio Santos. So, Tim, you brought up something interesting in our little chat there about Jamiro's post on Instagram.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we remember what happened in the middle of the summer. Like, he was literally, kind of out the door. I think that, listen, everyone has a change of heart. Things do change. It could be a possibility that Jamiro wants to stay here. But do you think he does stay?
For me, I wouldn't be surprised if he does. I mean, so to me, the thing that kind of sealed it was seeing him captain the side in the Eastern Conference Final. I would have thought you would give it to someone like Aurelian Colin, who is an actual MLS veteran who was, I believe, a captain at one point for SKC. I could be wrong. Maybe it was someone else. But like seeing Jamiro get the captain's armband from Jim, like those were the two that were like butting heads at that moment in the summer. So I think there could be some water under the bridge there. Now, if there is a transfer fee that comes in and you can't really refuse it, and Jamiro maybe gets a team that is closer to home for him, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes. But I think if those offers don't come in, that he'll be on this team and he'll be starting again.
Is he $2 million worth?
I would have to check. I don't know what his value is up to at this point.
Yeah, I think
I know you want him gone, Zach.
it's not that I want him gone. It's that he's not allowed to play 10. Like that's like he can stay if he doesn't play the 10. I
think that's why he's still playing or was playing in the playoffs. I think they switched the formation so that he could play the 10 next to Gazdag, because that was the problem. Was Gazdag came in and Jamiro immediately dropped out of the lineup. So, and I'm just not a fan of him at the 10 at all. Like I just think he ruins moves and he just is kind of stale that high up the pitch. How about Jamiro for Rui Diaz, who says no straight up? Let's go right now. Who says no? Who says no? Seattle says no.
Why is it? Why? No, they're fine. They can do it. They have money. They could just buy someone else.
Now,
Seattle was that Western Conference MLS team that was.
That's what I'm saying. It makes
back. Yeah,
it's perfect. It's perfect.
Now, Justin, what do you envision happening with the center back? Because obviously we do need some depth there. If it really is not coming back here, like, do you think like we move Greg there, or we find like a cheap option around the world or something in the league, a veteran option?
I think you get a veteran option. I think you don't want to rush the kids. If Cole Turner or Brendan Craig are your options, I'm not opposed. And I think they could get some time. But I think realistically, you're going to have another Colin situation. It's not going to be a 35-year-old, MLS vet. It might be someone who's had some years in the league, mid-late 20s, someone that, that earns fines and just says, hey, it's a good option. And it might be an MLS vet. Who knows? But I think I'd rather lean to the side of let's sign a vet to kind of let the kids. I said I want the kids. If Craig and Turner ball out in the preseason and Jim goes, hey, I think I can run with them as the option. Yeah, go right ahead. But I think I think next season might be their chance. Like I said, this year with McGlynn and Sullivan and Paxton. So I think you could see it next season, but realistically, I think they sign a veteran backup.
Okay. Zach, who is Mo Lester?
Don't think that's a real person.
Are you serious?
I don't think it's a real person.
You guys are bamboozling us now?
I think you need to read what you just said. Like, think about what you just said, and I think you'll understand.
That's a good one there.
Yeah,
I give you credit there. I give you credit.
As soon as I read it, I was like, "That's definitely."
I even looked at it. I'm like,
this guy.
It's England.
Right here.
It's England. You never know. Well, all right. So we got a legit question here, real quick. Zach, get this one as well here. Honest thoughts on Charlotte FC going into the season.
I think they'll be good. I think they'll be good. I think that they have, they're in a good area. And I just think they'll do things more in the sense of like not the Cincinnati or the Miami way, but I think they will also employ some of that. Like I don't think they're spending $13 million on a striker in their first season, but I also don't think they're not going to spend any money.
I think they're actually buying a 19-year-old striker. I think I saw
that. Yeah.
So I mean, it obviously depends on what they get in the expansion draft and the MLS draft, which maybe the Union actually drafts someone this year. Probably not, but it could happen. No, actually, trade the picks. Get me as much money as possible, just so we can really like pay whomever we want. Whomever we want is just getting all the money they want. But yeah, I think Charlotte will be. I don't think they'll be great. I think they'll be like a mid-table Eastern Conference side.
All right. Before we end today, guys, I wanted to get your guys. I know it sucks that we're not preparing for MLS Cup, but I figured let's get the predictions going. So obviously NYCFC and Portland on Saturday, right? We got Saturday.
Yeah.
Kickoff here.
Saturday at 3.
Oh man,
weird time for a final. Weird time for a final. Make
it a night game.
That's like a noon kickoff for them too. That's really weird.
And it's supposed to be rainy. It's supposed to be rainy all weekend.
Of course it is.
I mean, it's Pacific Northwest, so that's a common.
Portland.
Neutral sites. But Tim, what do you think is going to happen in the MLS Cup?
I mean, we kind of spoke about it earlier, but if New York City plays the way that they played against the Union, they're going to get played off the field at Portland. Like, Portland has made it to 2 MLS Cups before. They won in Columbus and they lost in Atlanta. They never hosted one. This is going to be an extreme atmosphere. I know tickets are kind of crazy, that whole situation. They're going for a lot of money, so maybe you won't see as many people as usual in Portland, but their supporter section is going to be rocking. And if New York City comes out and is as stale as they were in the first half against the Union, like, Portland is going to find a way to score an early goal, and that might be enough. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Portland wins this one like by 2 goals, like 3-1. If I had to put a score on it, I think is probably the right score, and Portland wins.
Zach?
I tend to agree, especially because you get your 2 best players back. Blanco was on the bench the other night. He very well could start. And you get the guy back from suspension too. So I don't see why they don't score at least 3 goals. Whether Tati gets one is up for debate. Like, could not. So I'm going to say either 3-0 or 3-1, like Tim said. Portland looked really good. Portland looked really good against RSL.
Yeah, they did, man. RSL I felt like I had no chance in that one. But Justin, what do you got for the MLS Cup?
I've said it that I think that if NYCFC plays the same way they did against the Union against Portland, they're gonna get stumped. Like, it's gonna be an ugly game. And like you said, with Blanco and with Asprilla coming back, which is much of a punchline as he's been, Asprilla shows up in the playoffs for Portland. Yeah. So I agree with 3-1. I'm going to go with bold prediction that Asprilla gets a bicycle goal kick.
Yeah, of course he does.
And I think Tati gets a late consolation goal.
Okay. All right.
Does he take his shirt off for fun?
He probably does go to the Super Celebration, and he could honestly. You know what? I'm going to say it. He gets that second yellow for taking his shirt off that Tim talked about, but this time it's not for a stupid challenge.
He should do a celebration and hurt himself. That's what's going to happen. He's going to try a backflip and then mess up his knee.
Ooh. On the turf, yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly. It's turf, man. It's dangerous.
It's some real stuff, man. Some real stuff there. All right, guys, that's going to do it for another episode of DOOP by the River. Look, the season, Zach?
I want to shout out Brendan Aronson, who's going to the round of 16 of the Champions League for the first time ever with Salzburg. They made it further than Leipzig. What is going on in the world?
Yep.
And I do feel for Jesse Marsch, by the way.
There was a video, though, of the locker room. Brendan's going freaking nuts. He's like,
he even said he's probably not going to be able to sleep, man.
He's slapping himself in the face.
Fun stat: he's only the second American ever to play in all 6 Champions League group games, and he's the only one to start all 6.
That's one.
And he's going to take the U.S. to a World Cup, so it's great.
Yes.
Yep. Starting winger for the U.S. Or at least super sub for the U.S. He's awesome. So
learn from the great Elstino, man.
keep on, Brendan.
Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. Thank you so much for that from Zach. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the season end of the podcast, but that doesn't mean we stop. Of course, we'll have off-season content all season.
Transfers.
Zach's going to be going crazy with the transfers. And then, of course, any stories that happen, we'll be talking on the pod, give you guys our thoughts. But we really want to thank you guys for listening on and on this season. This is now our second season. Of course, our first one was the COVID year. And then this year, obviously, we made the Eastern Conference Finals. But I wanted to thank everyone listening on into the podcast for sticking with us for the whole entire year. We have seen significant growth, and we really appreciate guys checking us out every single week, sometimes twice a week. We really appreciate it. And, of course, I really want to thank the guys you see here, Justin, Zach, and Tim, making time to come on in here, giving it your all, giving it your passion, the way you guys are. I truly appreciate you, and this pod would not be where it's at right now without you three. So, seriously, I want to thank you guys. And it's not over, guys. It's definitely not over.
No.
Liam hasn't canceled us yet.
yeah. Never over, baby.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. That's going to do us. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to both El Parcero Philly YouTube channel and Philly Sports Network. And this podcast will also be up on PSN Radio. You can find that wherever you stream podcasts from Apple, Google, and Spotify. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Tim Lovinguth. That is Zach Labasso. That is Justin Jolly Old St. Dupe. And, of course, I go by the name of El Parcero Philly. We're telling you guys to dupe on. See you guys in the rest of this offseason.